Welcome back to the Discipler Group. We've got another exciting time planned for you today. As we've said earlier, we're engaged in sacred trust, looking at boundaries as clergy and laity within the church. How do we lead the church and maintain healthy boundaries? Today, we're going to talk about boundaries regarding financial issues, such as loans and gifts. This can be a cloudy area sometimes. People want to share with us and what is appropriate and what's not appropriate. Today, Reverend Dr. Evan Young is going to be working with us. Evan is the bishop's assistant and guide in the Washington region. He oversees a number of the personnel matters here in the Baltimore-Washington Conference. We're grateful for his knowledge and understanding and look forward to his presentation today.
Greetings. My name is Evan Young, and I serve as the assistant to the bishop. Today, as I begin, there's a quote from Martin Luther King I'd like to share with you. It goes like this: "Cowardice asks the question, is it safe? Expediency asks the question, is it politic? Vanity asks the question, is it popular? But conscience asks the question, is it right? And there comes a time when one must take a position that is neither safe nor politic nor popular, but one must take it because one's conscience tells one that it is right." Clergy are bound by our baptismal vows to respect the dignity of every human being, and through our ordination vows to be faithful and accountable pastors. Abuse of power occurs when accountability is absent or appropriate supports and personal care is not in place and/or relationship boundaries are violated. Professional boundaries can sometimes be easy to discern, telling the truth. Not having sexual relations with a parishioner, counseling someone in a secluded place. However, have you ever thought about what are the professional boundaries regarding finances and money? We have opportunity to interact with people on a very personal level. And because of the trust we develop with those we work with, what are appropriate boundaries to honor? Think about the ethical issues raised in these areas. Inheritances. A member wishes to leave money in thanksgiving for the role the church has played in their lives or to further the work of religion. However, the parishioner wants to leave the money to the clergy as an individual to ensure it is used appropriately. What should the clergy person do? What if the family believes undue influence has been applied by the pastor? The relationship between pastor and parishioner was developed due to the unique role the pastor played. The pastor has been the face of compassion on behalf of the church. Would it be ethical to gain personally from fulfilling the role you have been paid to render on behalf of the church? The clergy instruct people from time to time about the duty of Christian parents to make prudent provisions for the well-being of their families and of all persons, to make wills while they are in health, arranging for the disposal of their temporal goods, not neglecting, if they are able, to leave bequests for religious and charitable uses. The details of estate planning are appropriately left to legal and financial professionals. The role of clergy is best limited to general guidance about the importance of religious bequests and the procedures to be followed for bequest to the church corporately. The general principle is that the main temporal compensation for clergy for their ministerial work is their salary. To seek to profit otherwise from past or current pastoral relationships is harmful to the integrity of the pastoral ministry. It is commendable, therefore, that the members of the clergy transfer the church bequests made to the clergy person in gratitude for his or her ministry. It is appropriate for members of the clergy to consult with their supervisors when a personal bequest is made and when the clergy person's relationship with the testator was both professional and personal. The relationship of trust, which we prize so highly, can be damaged by the clergy benefiting personally from any trust established for the benefit of the church, or by in any way inducing someone in the clergy person's pastoral care to leave money or other property to them. What about discretionary funds? Another area of concern in financial ministry is discretionary funds. Discretionary funds are placed in the care of clergy so that they may respond in Christ's name to the poor, and so that they may carry out the work of ministry in an appropriate, responsible, and flexible manner. It is appropriate for the church council to agree on the needs other than charity to which discretionary funds can be applied. The relationship of trust between clergy and congregation is ill served by the use of discretionary funds for personal expenses. Clergy integrity in the eyes of the larger community is impaired by any use of funds for the purpose of concealing income from those charged with administering the laws related to taxation at any level of government. Remember, discretionary funds belong to the church, not the clergy. A separate checking account in the church's name for such funds best preserves that integrity. Clergy are accountable to their congregation for the use of discretionary funds. And at the same time, it's essential to keep confidential the identities of any persons receiving charitable gifts, as well as those donors who wish to remain anonymous. Clergy accountability can best be expressed by an audit of the amount of income and expenses by type and by discretionary funds, but not the canceled checks or any other documentation that might reveal the names of recipients of charitable gifts. Questions of impropriety in the handling of discretionary funds are best dealt with by the guide. Another area of concern is compensation. When clergy receive a full-time salary and related benefits from the church, it is inappropriate for them to undertake other work for pay that could interfere with their capacity to give full-time energy to their pastoral work. At the same time, it is recognized that circumstances may arise in which the accepting of other additional employment may be necessary. In that case, it is appropriate that you consult your supervisor and staff parish relations committee to set appropriate parameters for such additional work. In particular, such consultation is essential if the additional employment contemplated is opening a counseling practice, particularly if on church property. Charging their own parishioners for such counseling services is also another dubious practice, and it is recommended that income from such work be returned to the congregation. Misunderstandings can be prevented by developing a letter of agreement between the clergy and your SPRC. This document should outline the fees for occasional services, the circumstances under which they are assessed, and their disposition should a matter of disagreement arise. Loans. Loans from congregations to clergy or from parishioners to clergy can inject an inappropriate note into the pastoral relationship. Recognizing the repayment of loans is a legal responsibility, written evidence of the loan and of the clergy's obligation to repay is essential. To avoid jeopardizing the pastoral relationship between the clergy and the people, it's important not to accept any loan from a parishioner or a group of parishioners without the SPRC and guide being aware of the loan. Such notice to your guide may enable them to respond to the clergy's need in a more appropriate way than permitting the clergy to go into further debt. Every aspect of the financial relationship between the clergy, the congregation, or anyone in the congregation must be deemed a matter of trust. Much anguish and disappointment can be avoided by openness, communication, and agreement between the clergy, SPRC, and your guide. Protect your future ministry, especially regarding how you handle financial matters, and all will be served well. As we perform ministry, someone is assessing your actions and behaviors. Don't let the good you've done be evil spoken. Money and finances are not evil, but can provide pitfalls to you in your ministry. Think about professional financial boundaries you will put into place to protect you and the church.